Hi guys, my name's Kevin Luchmun and we are backstage at Luchmun Studios, and I am here with one of my close friends, Mr. Charlie Cullen. Yeah, one of my close, dearest friends. And we are social distancing. We're kind of about 1.5 meters apart or so. So Charlie is currently at the moment, like myself, an international educator. We go way back. We used to work for Toni Guy together. We taught in the men's course together. And I really wanted to ask him a few questions about his journey, how he got to where he is now, what he's up to, you know, some of the challenges that he faced on the way. So, Mr. Charlie Cullen, give us a little bit of an insight on yourself, how you started, and the journey, really.
Thanks for having me, first of all, mate. Lovely to be here in Luchmun Studios. My background, hairdressing, obviously, or maybe not so obviously to some. But yeah, I started working for Toni Guy since I was 15 actually. Never knew that I wanted to be a hairdresser or a barber, just needed a job, needed to get some money. And yeah, started as a little Saturday boy, sweeping up, making teas and coffees, and sort of fell, I don't know really, I always feel quite lucky that I just sort of fell into the right place at the right time.
Was you creative at school or anything like that? I mean,
yeah, like I've done art and stuff like that, yeah. So art, done a bit of textiles and stuff. So I wanted to actually do footwear, like trainer sort of designing and stuff. That's what I thought I wanted to do, something along them lines. Yeah. So I was always sort of creative in that respect, but just never knew what direction I wanted to take that in really, and just fell into place.
So Toni Guy was the first.
Yeah,
sort of like
in Uxbridge.
So how comes, why Toni Guy? I mean, why was that, like sort of like somewhere close to home, or?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it was just the name that was well known even by a 15-year-old kid at school. Do you know what I mean? That knew nothing about hair. It was just it was a big brand. My mum's friend was a hairdresser as well. She used to cut our hair, and she had sort of recommended that I do that as well. That she thought I'd be a good fit. Because I was interested in my own hair and stuff like that. So yeah, it's funny how it all works out.
So kind of like, tell us about your journey from when you started back in Uxbridge as that Saturday boy or assistant to kind of, obviously you're not with Toni Guy now. Yeah. So kind of tell us about like your whole journey from when you was that Saturday boy to when you before you kind of like left Toni Guy, and just kind of like tell us about your journey through. You know, because obviously to work up towards becoming an international art director is a very hard thing, you know, as I know myself. But, you know, kind of like tell us about your journey, you know, like, and kind of like any obstacles or troubles that you had like on that way, really.
I think whenever you start, you always set goals. So you work on those little mini goals, and then maybe, you know, I never even had a goal of being an art director for Toni Guy at the beginning, because to be honest, I didn't even know what one was. But I suppose my mini goals, if you like, was to get through my apprenticeship, to get my qualification as soon as possible, which I think took like 3 years to get my MVQ, and then to VADA, which is it 6 weeks? I'm trying to think how long VADA was.
Yeah, 6 weeks, yeah.
6 weeks?
6 weeks.
It's been a while.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like your end of, obviously you know what it is, but for the people that would be watching, it was more like you're finishing school, where you do your final exams, that type of thing. So that was like my main goal, and that took 3 years, which is quite a long time really. But
what, from being the apprentice, from getting your MVQ?
Probably, yeah. To be probably 2 years to get an MVQ, a further year's training. Obviously it's quite intense, so it could be something that you could go and do in college maybe a little bit quicker. I was quite fortunate that at the beginning I was doing my training inside the salon, and we changed from where the salon was no longer a franchise and actually company owned. So from about 1 year into my apprenticeship, I then began to train in the academy in London, which I found, I suppose, a bit more of an easier progression, because you get to be taught by the people that would then assess your work at the end. Those people then would be people that I'd actually begin to work with. And I think having that relationship of being in central London and being with those people definitely helped my progression a little bit.
And was it from that moment, being in the academy, that kind of drove you towards, I want to work towards becoming an art director, doing what they was doing? Or?
Yeah, of course, because I didn't even know that existed. In my eyes, it was just, okay, you worked in a salon, you'd done your bit, then I saw people doing shoots and shows, and then I went to, I think it was my first main stage, which is a massive event that Toni Guy do every year. A big show, big crowd, and I thought, well, okay, wow, I could be one of those guys on stage. So knowing that wouldn't be easy, because obviously then small goals set up was to be busy in the shop, probably to be the busiest and the best stylist in the shop was like my first end goal. Earn money obviously as well, because you've been on assistant's wage for 3 years, which was 300 quid a month or whatever it was horrendous. 260 at the beginning, which is crazy now. But
I think that's what we're getting now, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm getting universal credit. Yeah, 300 quid universal credit, cheers. So that was then the goal, to attend art team training, where you'd go up into London every other Tuesday evening, do a couple of hours where you'd either watch demonstrations or learn how to demo, learn how to speak in front of an audience, and all that sort of stuff, really.
So with that then, obviously working towards becoming an art director, obviously I'm going to say this because, having known you and having going through that journey together. And so at what stage would you say, because now being an independent artist, you predominantly concentrate on men's hairdressing, barbering. So where would you say in that journey of Toni Guy, because of course Toni Guy, you have to learn ladies and men's, where would you say, and how did the transition of your mindset to be like, actually I prefer doing men's hair, I want to concentrate, I want it to be stronger? Do you know what I mean? When did that sort of happen, and how did it happen more so? Because I guess there's a lot of people that get brought into barbering or get brought into hairdressing, and then it's kind of, obviously with your direction, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it's kind of started with the hairdressing, and even though you've done men's, then you've kind of then shifted and want to be more of a men's specialist. I mean,
it's difficult to think of the exact point where I thought I wanted to specialise in men's. I mean, at the beginning, I actually, when I was doing my training, initially did a lot of colour training. So actually, I thought I wanted to be a technician at the very beginning.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if you know that, yeah. But I'm colourblind. So that soon stopped. I still done my colour training, but I sort of I don't know why. I think it was the first. With cutting, it was always, oh, you got to blow dry, you got to learn section. I couldn't blow dry, my blow drying was awful. So maybe even from then, I was already veering towards something that wouldn't include blow drying. It's mad because of the type of men's hair I do. Actually, the finishing is one of the most important parts of like longer hair. So I feel like eventually I got it. I don't know, I'd say like 2 years into my MVQ training, or the finishing of my MVQ training, I found that I just got good feedback for my men's stuff. I just found that I took to it naturally. I was cutting a few of my friends' hair without even knowing what to do. I just watch people cut hair. I can't even say you would YouTube it or anything like that, because you couldn't even do that back then, really. But I just picked up scissors and just sort of had a go. Yeah. So I think from there, obviously got taught by Jody, one of the guys in the art, was one of the art directors, Jody Taylor. So he was someone that then I sort of looked up to as well. He was the head of the men's education, and then, when I met you on the men's course, which was one of our first men's courses, which was taken by Jody at the time, I already knew then that's what I wanted to do, because I was already finding that in the salon, I'd build a strong male clientele. So, I don't know, from the education side of point of view, it's difficult to know. I don't know. I think as soon as I started to teach, I found that was going to be my niche. That was where I wanted to be. I had more of a stronger interest. And even you could say that men's hair's less you could do with it at the time, or less trends, or it's not blown up. It hadn't blown up like it is now. Yeah. It was just something that I was drawn to.
So, obviously you're not with Toni Guy anymore, and 2 years now coming up, or 3 years? I'm lost track with everything.
It's hard to remember what's even happened, isn't it? I think it's 2 years next month.
Okay, so it's been 2 years since you left Toni Guy. So what kind of, a bit of a personal question, but I guess a lot of people would want to you know, kind of understand, like anything, it's not hard to leave a company, especially when you've been with them for such a long time, but then sort of, you know, there's a lot of people out there that would like to take that kind of leap of faith and do their own thing, whether it's getting their own barbershop or being an independent educator. What kind of, you know, drove you to leaving Toni and Guy, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing that you left, and what kind of, you know, gave you that push just to be like, you know what, like, I'm going to go for it, you know? Because as we know, being in the industry, is, you know, it's a big industry. There's a lot of competition out there. There's a lot of people doing the same thing.
I mean, I wasn't unhappy with what I was doing. I liked what I was doing, so I had a great experience there. But I suppose it was about anything like that. It's about timing. So it's about picking the right time for you personally and professionally that you could move on. And I always had the fear that I didn't want to leave it too late, so that I couldn't then take any opportunities. And actually, I think the younger you do something, the less responsibilities you have, the less pressure it is. So if you do something that doesn't work out, it's not end of the world. You go again. You learn from your mistakes. So for me, it was more personal that I just had my little girl, or she was about to be born, and I always was figuring out in my mind that around 30, get my years of experience, build up. I wanted to run the men's course, obviously, once you had left, do head shows at Fashion Week. So again, it's goals again, really.
So it's like you ticked everything that you wanted to tick off.
Yeah.
And now it's like, right, what's next?
Achieved everything that I'd set out to achieve, and then my next goal was then to do that and represent myself, really. Yeah. So, yeah, personally and professionally, I felt that I was ready to leave. I didn't want to leave Toni and Guy and then not be able to stand on my own 2 feet and be recognised. So I felt that I pushed my name in the industry enough that I could stand on my own 2 feet, really.
So obviously, that being said and done, once you've left, what was it that you kind of set yourself up to do? Obviously, 2 years ago, it's you know, you'd left Toni and Guy. So what was it? Just straight away, okay, I'm just going to start doing education. Like, what was the sort of idea? Did you kind of like have a goal, and not a goal, but did you kind of have a path or an idea or a vision that you wanted to go in, or was it like, right, I need to leave and then figure it out?
I had a vision of where I wanted to go, but it was quite an early few steps, and then from there I didn't know which way it would go. So for me, I wanted to hedge my bets a little bit. So I still wanted to cut hair. I enjoy cutting hair. I was enjoying cutting hair in the shop more than I ever had done, actually. And maybe because I was in a specific barber shop. I'm working in Joe & Co, so I started there. So I was doing that a couple of days a week, so that could give me my support that then I could do my education. And depending how quick that would blow up and travel, I wanted to get my first trip in there and stuff like that. And everything fell into place quite quickly. Again, a lot of the time I do think, is that luck, or it's got a little bit to do with luck, a little bit to do with hard work, I think, as well. And then
you created your own luck. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you still had to work hard in order to get noticed by these people.
Of course, yeah.
Which I think, you know, you're just being very modest and humble in saying that, and I get it from my point of view as well, because, you know, I'm the same. But the thing is, it's not just, you didn't get anything given to you on a plate. You still had to work hard to get to where you are now. Do you know what I mean? It's like you still had to reach out to people. You still had to keep active on social media. You know, so yeah, but I do agree, you know, there is that element of luck, but then you still had to work hard. You created your own luck.
Yeah, and if you get the opportunity, then you've got to prove yourself. Yeah. So, and actually I was never, with my worried about leaving, I was never worried about proving myself, because I sort of had confidence that I could do that anyway, because to go through the process that we had to become an art director and to prove, I wouldn't say a lot of people wrong, but to prove you're worthy of achieving that, I was more worried about getting the opportunities, really. Yeah. So that education, and then shoot more. So I wanted to shoot more, which now I'm with an agency and actually shooting a little bit more. Just obviously with COVID, that's tends to mess things up quite a bit for everyone. But so now I've got 3 different avenues that I can go down. and I feel that probably the education side of things is great now. I'll always cut hair, but probably working on shoots and the grooming side of things that I'm doing now, I feel has a longer shelf life, and that's probably what I'll go down and detour towards. Or, to be honest, I love all three, so if I can do all three, great.
So probably a question that I personally wanted to ask you, because again, being an educator, traveling, and we touched on this early on, with COVID, how has this whole situation, from your own brand as an educator, from talking mental health as well, like how has that, this whole situation I think's affected people in so many different ways, but as we was discussing early on, like talking how as an educator, from traveling around the world, seeing different people, doing the shows, signing autographs and certificates, to literally nothing. How has that, obviously, one, how has it affected you? Two, are you kind of like taking this time to kind of reset and figure out what direction you want to go in, or are you just kind of trying to work on other projects or other things? What's kind of like your intake in this all, because I find there's a lot of talk about like, let's chop the VAT down, let's, support each other by doing education. Yeah, it's the educators that's having to do it for these people to still keep them motivated and inspired. But then I find, as an educator, what kind of help have we had? And it's not to say that we need help or anything like that, but it's kind of like, I don't think this issue as educators has really been addressed. More so to independent educators, because don't get me wrong, you've got other brands out there and educational brands that are still doing their stuff on Zoom and, Facebook Lives and Instagram Lives, but they have big financial backings from investors. But then people like us, a little bit different.
It's a deep one, isn't it, really? I feel it's where to start. Confidence probably confidence could have majorly been knocked. I've actually never suffered with anxiety, but I felt the first time actually going to work in December, so actually after the second lockdown in November, was the first time I've ever had anxiety. And I don't know whether it was a little bit about going back into work and being fully booked, but I had 4 months off in the summer. I think a little bit of that maybe was also BHA, was that same week. So I didn't win BHA, so I had I had a hangover from that, but I also had a downer from that, and then going back into work, and then, you know what it's like, you don't cut hair for 2 weeks when you're on holiday a couple of years ago, you'd have felt a bit rusty going back. When you haven't really worked most of the year, it affects your confidence and your mental sort of side of things, really. It's definitely mentally challenging. Once I got back into work a couple of days, I was fine, but it just shows you how it can affect people. So, I don't know. It's financial is a lot of things as well. So if I don't have that financial worry and strain where you've got to support a family, supporting the family, having a little one, it's a different kind of stress, and it's probably easier for people out there that work for bigger companies or on furlough and stuff like that. But I don't know if actually maybe it would give us an advantage in the long run, so that when we do things get back again, you have that hunger and that desire to want to go out there and do better, and it'd be a massive achievement to get back to that stature before. But it's just crazy world at the moment. I was a electrician's apprentice last week. I've been picking up cars from auctions. I've been trying to do whatever I can to survive, really. And actually a little bit of a break from cutting hair, not cutting hair, but from the industry is not necessarily a bad thing at the beginning. Because actually I realised that how much I do love it and how much I wouldn't want to do anything else. And I can't wait to get back to doing what I was doing. But it's a big come down from, like you said, travelling, seeing people, being that face, and all of a sudden then it's just gone. But it will come back.
Yeah. So, it's been challenging for bloody everyone, isn't it? It's just, I feel like I'm in limbo sometimes, and, you hear the government saying, oh yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't know if it was you or someone else I was talking to, it's like, I can't even bloody see the tunnel. Like what I can see is a massive brick wall and there's like a shovel next to me and it's just like, right, okay, you need to like dig yourself and smash that wall down. But then you have something to smash that wall down with. Yeah. But it's just a crazy, crazy world we're in at right now.
I said, I think it feels like you're starting again as well afterwards. It's almost like you're starting from scratch. Maybe that's a good thing. Yeah. Maybe that's, you can use this time to iron out anything that was, I don't know, a little bit unsure, you weren't quite happy with, or yeah, it's getting that motivation. And like you said, when you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, it's having the motivation then to get off your ass and do something now. So, whichever one, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think that's a bad thing. Like at the beginning, I spoke to a couple of barbers and hairdressers that were, I don't want to watch anything live. I don't want to do anything this. I actually just want to switch off because they felt pressured that they should be doing something better with their time. Yeah, yeah. Like
rather than spending time with family or like, revamping the house.
You have to look at like the positive thing out of this. I've spent a lot of time with family, a lot of time to recharge, a lot of time getting fit, do weights in the garage, running. So like I feel healthy. I've had a better relationship with my baby and my wife. Maybe if you can look at the good side of things, and if we get back to what we do in 5 years' time and look back at that and just say, oh,
well, I had a good time during lockdown, didn't it?
I don't know, yeah. So you can look at a million ways, but it's testing times for everyone. But yeah, I definitely have felt at times mentally challenged and down, like everyone has. As it's a roller coaster, isn't it, really?
So just to wrap it off, like any advice for anyone wanting to take the direction of becoming an independent educator or just an independent person in general leaving a company, would you, like any tips or advice you'd give anyone, if they want to do that, but they're a bit unsure, scared,
It's a difficult one because I'd say 2 years ago, everyone wanted to be an educator because they thought that's what they should do. I think you have to realise that what you really want to achieve out of it, like it's no good just wanting to be educated because you see people do it on Instagram, because it's not like we're finding now, it's not a guarantee that work's going to come in. So you need to be able to build your platform and profile and go from there. But I think you should look at all aspects of barbering, hairdressing, whether it is your own shop or whether it is going down that sort of session route. Yeah. I wouldn't put anyone off it because it's where it's got me where I am today, is from just putting myself out there and doing it. And in terms of leaving a big company, without obviously seeing what was going to happen now, it's probably still the best move I ever done. Yeah. And it probably was the best move I've done because of the timing that I felt right to move on. I felt like I had got everything that I could from them, and like I said, I had a great time. Thank them for all the experience that I had there. So I, like yourself, always leave on a good note. Yeah. Don't never close any doors.
Don't burn any bridges either.
Better to have an honest conversation, really. But set yourself some goals, what you want to achieve, what you want to get out of it, and take the plunge.
Yeah. Right, and last question. I don't want to jinx this, I'm not going to say you're going to die, but like your last meal. So, just because I love food. So, what would your last meal be? It needs to consist of a starter, main and dessert. Go, fire, quick.
It has to be pizza.
Not for starter.
Well, maybe even for all three. I would say, yeah, you just got me thinking Domino's now.
Well, I told you, like,
or homemade pizza now is the one. Definitely pizza for main. Definitely some sort of cookies, that type of thing for dessert.
Just going for Domino's, isn't you?
Yeah. I don't know, for a starter. I actually prefer more starters now than what should I do dessert. I don't know. It doesn't go if I have like calamari, does it?
Doesn't need to go.
No. Okay.
Calamari, pizza and cookies.
Yeah, and a little espresso afterwards.
Lovely. Right, guys, so thank you very much, Charlie, for joining me in the seat. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.